Zen in the car, for the spiritually minded liberty activist on the go. Liketh, shareth, subscribeth. It's what the cool kids do. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. For thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. The book of Hosea. If there's anything my personal experience has shown regarding scriptures and the religions that monopolize certain collections of texts, it's this. Find out what the majority of people believe that claim those scriptures, then throw most of that out of the window. While this is likely a good practice with any corporate religion, it's certainly the best practice with corporate Christianity. Over the years, more than a few have asked, suggested, and even beseeched your humble author to write a book on my personal findings within the collection of scriptures most commonly referred to as the Bible. To this request, I've always responded, what would be the point? While my views certainly cannot be found consolidated in any other philosopher or spiritual truth seeker alone, no doubt my views can be found spread out in a wide variety of them throughout the ages, who have come to many of the same conclusions as myself. And while I find it really neato when others have or do echo my own gnosis of the Bible, my personal experience and relationship with the divine is most certainly not dependent upon any sum of people. What I mean to say is this: my knowledge, security, and intimacy with the divine needs no outside validation whatsoever. I think the reason those within my personal circles are mystified by a lack of compulsion on my part to write some sort of treatise on the Bible is because their experience of me shows a passionate adoration, reverence, and perhaps deep understanding of the contents therein. Very seldom will any conversation with yours truly go too long before some long-winded exposition and prolific expression on my part regarding some section of the scriptures occur. Almost all the time, these expositions are responded to with the phrase, how come they don't teach that in church? A sentiment I absolutely understand, but would slightly reword for accuracy. How come corporate Christianity is teaching a completely alien message from that of the Bible? Before going too much further, know that I'm using my own term and understanding of corporate Christianity, and not some definition given to me by seminary or school of thought other than the school of my personal observation and experience. That being said, corporate Christianity in my verbiage is an umbrella entity that, while including some deviations in dogma and doctrine here and there, for the most part share core common beliefs throughout its limbs. To put you in the ball field as best I can, the following is a list of commonly held beliefs one might find within corporate Christianity. The Bible, 66 scrolls, give or take a few, chosen by a Roman emperor and his simps in 325 AD, is the infallible Word of God. This Bible is literal history. The God of this Bible is a dude or singular masculine. This singular masculine God created the first humans in its likeness, which ironically included a female. This God put its creation in its garden to work for him. This God didn't mind if they nibbled here and there from the garden they worked, so long as they remained stupid by not initiating their knowledge of any existence beyond that of involuntary servitude or eating from the fruit of wisdom. Since they ultimately do, this singular masculine God curses them and finds them inadequate to do involuntary servitude in his garden, thus kicking them out and beginning a really, really long, toxic, and narcissistic relationship with humanity. This singular masculine God enjoys blood sacrifices. See the whole butthurt ordeal with Cain and Abel. This singular masculine God discards humanity with the flood. This singular masculine God ghosts humanity for centuries while they heal from his rage quit, only to hoover them in Egypt after they have so gotten over him to the point of not even remembering him. This singular masculine God is really into eugenics, evidenced by conceiving the notion of a chosen ethnicity. This singular masculine God is uber powerful and uber alone in his godness, but is also extremely jealous of other gods, evidenced by his narcissistic rage plagues on gods of Egypt and other locations, not excluding the murdering of children. This singular masculine God gaslights his chosen eugenics-driven people for 40 friggin' years, knowing full well walking to Palestine only takes 11 days. Upon discovering Palestine is already occupied by other life forms he deems genetically inferior, this singular masculine God incites his uber people to murder, rape, and pillage the lot of them, children not excluded. This singular masculine god is really concerned about his toys and a temple to put all his favorite toys in. This singular masculine god is obsessively concerned about what you do with your naughty bits, including genital mutilation. Again, children not excluded. This singular masculine god created his own arch nemesis that corporate Christians in Milton's fictional story, Paradise Lost, call Lucifer. This singular masculine god has a son without the assistance of a chick whatsoever. This son's name is Jesus Christ Trademark. Jesus Christ Trademark is a magic extraterrestrial. Jesus Christ Trademark is a rabbi, but ironically isn't married, which is kind of a requirement of being a rabbi. But anywho, Jesus Christ Trademark outright says that the singular masculine god everyone around him worships is Satan, the bad guy of the story. Jesus Christ Trademark also worships this singular masculine god he calls Satan. Jesus Christ Trademark's mission is to be brutally murdered to satiate the singular masculine's demand for not only blood sacrifice, but human sacrifice. Jesus Christ Trademark is healed from his deadly wounds and comes back to life, fulfilling a requirement of the Antichrist. Due to this human blood sacrifice, corporate Christians can get a free pass into the singular masculine God's heaven and not go to his eternal hell for not loving him by means of compulsion and coercion. Jesus Christ Trademark is going to do something not recorded anywhere in the Bible and rapture or beam up all his followers just before beating the shit out of his bride, also known as the earth, any minute now, maybe even before I finish this sentence. Jesus Christ Trademark is going to return on a white space pony, leading an extraterrestrial invasion of a massive hostile force, also on space ponies. Jesus Christ Trademark is going to mass murder countless human beings upon performing his encore. Jesus Christ Trademark is going to sit in the third temple, declaring himself to be God, kind of like the Antichrist. Jesus Christ Trademark is going to institute a one world government, also kind of like the Antichrist. Jesus Christ Trademark is going to institute a one world religion, again, also like the Antichrist. Jesus Christ Trademark is going to rule his monarchy with a rod of iron, which is literally a tyranny in opposition to a republic, which preserves the rights of the individual. Again, very much like the Antichrist. Jesus Christ Trademark is going to overwrite individual free will and force those in his empire to be compulsory clones of himself, taking yet another play from the Antichrist handbook. Corporate Christians, like victims of narcissistic abuse, believe all this stripping of free will, mass murder, blood sacrifice, human sacrifice, cognitive dissonance, order from chaos, as well as compulsion and coercion by threat and duress is love. Of course, corporate Christianity will no doubt be displeased with how all that is worded, but can hardly deny that at its core, it's accurate to their take on the scriptures. Give or take a few doctrines. Even in the slight deviations of doctrines, the spiritual truth seeker can ascertain very quickly if they're dealing with corporate Christianity by asking its representatives the simple question, does your church, where this view of the scriptures is perpetuated, file tax exemption with a 501c3? If the answer is yes, and it usually is, then its teachings and codes of conduct are in fact and quite literally the terms and guidelines of a corporation, which is trademarked mascot Jesus Christ Trademark as effectual for your spiritual evolution as Mickey Mouse, which is also ironic since victims of corporate Christianity are given never-ending new translations of the scriptures with copyrights owned and operated by Disney. At this point, let me also reiterate my usage of the terms victims of corporate Christianity, because ultimately my musings here will find their way into the experience of one or more of these victims, causing an instantaneous emotional reaction, otherwise known as being triggered. Let me be clear that I am not attacking or condescending to individual victims of corporate Christianity, as my view of its structure is that it does not and cannot tolerate individuals at all. Like any other prefabricated belief system and structure, it operates and perpetuates itself as a hive mind, designed to strip its drones of independent expression, thought, logic, passion, and reason. If the views I hold offend thee, know that it's nothing personal, because you and I both know that you didn't come up with nor discover the tenets of corporate Christianity on your own anyway. They were given to you, like a bad prescription of reading glasses. Those beliefs were put on your eyes with the design of having you superimpose the company line of the scriptures at all costs. What's worse is that these specs come with threat and duress, that to ever take them off, your very soul will hang in the balance. What is it that prompted me to begin this piece of writing and the potential ones to follow? While it is not my practice to debate, argue, or force religion, religious beliefs, or my own beliefs onto others, because, as I said, my gnosis of the divine doesn't require anyone else for me to be secure within it, I do abhor untruth, especially untruth that is detrimental to others in a physical, spiritual, emotional, or mental way who are indeed seeking truth. That being said, I recently came across a victim of corporate Christianity passionately perpetuating one of the deadliest of its teachings, the pre-tribulation rapture doctrine, to anyone who might unfortunately get caught up in the machine through this teaching. At first, I was just going to be on my merry way without responding, thus saving myself the headache of interacting with a drone of corporate Christianity. Because, much like the Borg, they won't come at you until the hive mind perceives you as a threat. For a long while, I did indeed avoid putting my 2 cents in, but the Christ within me wasn't going to let me rest in thought, as it too abhors untruth that is harmful to others. With that, I simply provided, without any commentary of my own, a scripture which any rational, honest, and unbiased or pre-programmed individual can read that unequivocally proves that the teaching of a pre-tribulation rapture is a lie. Of course, the lies most believed are the ones that people want to believe so badly they will fight and die for them, such as the lie of the pre-tribulation rapture. As expected, the reaction was the same as any other victim of corporate Christianity's hive mind that I've come across regarding this topic: instantaneous twisting and diversion from the actual common sense reading of the text. No surprise there. And while I am more likely to expound upon this issue further down the road, for now let me just say that the attempted monopoly of prophetic interpretation is the harshest weapon corporate Christianity wields to keep the minds of mankind dimly lit and well within compliance. After the brief and predictable interaction, I stepped outside on the patio, knowing full well that the Christ within me was stirring my bones to address the issue of corporate Christianity with the gifts and talents it has bestowed upon me and within me. While collecting my thoughts and conversing with the Christ within me, I asked to be shown a word picture of how to begin. And my eyes were guided a few feet away, where there stood looking up at me a praying mantis. "Scurry along, little fella. I've heard rumors about you spitting venom, and I'll have none of that tonight," I said to him with a chuckle. Then I watched him indeed scurry away from me across the patio. Expecting to watch him disappear into the night, I was intrigued when suddenly he was snapped short in his trajectory, as if he had hit a tripwire I couldn't see underneath my grill. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, he was raptured upwards, dangling in midair, his arms still praying, while the rest of him desperately flailed and dangled. Astonished by the sight of this before perspective kicked in, I leaned in closer to examine the truth of this praying mantis's situation. As I did, the predator above revealed herself, and with steady certainty a magnificent black widow descended to meet her prey in the air, confident that the web it had crafted and concealed would hold her prey long enough to close in. She was correct. With rapid precision, she enshrouded the praying mantis and delivered her own venom without remorse, regret, or mercy, then backed away to let her prey flail until paralyzed and numb. When the mantis stopped its struggle, no longer preying, the apex predator spun around and around with a constricting web. Then yours truly watched the spider carry its prey up to its heaven to be eaten alive. It wasn't until after the drama of it had all concluded that I realized how immediate and poetic my request for a word picture had been provided, which in turn, for me, was all the prompting I needed to get to the keyboard and express my views on the much larger predator I call corporate Christianity, a spider with many limbs and a vast, intricate, wide-cast web that catches and consumes countless souls with numbing, immobilizing venom of fear, terror, constricting demands of conformity, and spiritual abuse. These tragic eviscerations of once truth seekers within are only rivaled by the scores of others who react emotionally upon seeing or escaping the web of corporate Christianity on the outside. They ultimately live their lives scorning the scriptures with just as much ignorance and lack of proper and personal examination, never coming near to them but proclaiming them to be complete hogwash and worthy of pyres. This, too, is a deficient position, which allows many mortals to become vulnerable food for the gods, as it were. As someone living the experience of a mystic, my disdain for corporate Christianity most certainly does not come from an atheistic or merely materialistic point of view. In fact, quite the opposite. It is not required of me, nor do I feel compelled to convince others that much of the transcendent accounts recorded in the scriptures are indeed accessible and very accurately, as best as the world walkers of old could describe, depicted, this, to me, is the great sin that corporate Christianity commits. The proclamation of supernatural experiences, gifts, and spiritual assignments, while simultaneously shutting up the doorways by which a truth seeker can access such experiences for themselves. I know of a great deal of practitioners in multiple schools of the mystic arts who will never reach their full potential because corporate Christianity has shunted them away from the most powerful and effective grimoires ever scribbled. Worse still, it has provided an antichrist corporate fiction in the icon of Jesus Christ trademark to deter truth seekers from the liberation of paltry practice and powerless faith, a liberation that is offered in the wisdom and example of the Christ, whose history, demeanor, and actual message corporate Christianity has done very well to hide away for centuries. I still see no point in writing a treatise of my own intimate gnosis on the Bible, as those discussions I choose to reserve for those within my inner circles in personal gatherings. However, perhaps there is some benefit in allowing the Christ within me to, at the very least, point out the nature of the web which has raptured many a doomed soul simply seeking truth, and give a perspective on how to rip it down. No doubt the spider of corporate Christianity will not starve anytime soon, but my intentions are to at least deprive it of a meal or two. Zen in the car, for the spiritually minded liberty activist on the go. Liketh, shareth, subscribeth. It's what the cool kids do.